So my name is Colm Gallagher. My job at Optimise Prime is Chief EV Data Scientist, so leading the data science team on the project. The data, I believe, is so important just because it's coming from real operating sites and EV drivers. So it's nothing that we're simulating in a lab. We're learning under real operating conditions. And if we find out something works, it's great because it's what actually reflects what's happening in the real world. I think equally, if we find out something doesn't work, it's a learning for us that we probably wouldn't have got if we simulated this perfect condition that you might get in a lab environment. So in Optimise Prime, we have this really rich, diverse data set across 3 different use cases. So we look at charging electric vehicles at home, charging electric vehicles at the workplace, in depots, and then the mixed kind of use of charging across both. What's really kind of important about this data is the fact it's covering all 3 use cases, and it's also covering it over such a long period of time. Some of the variations that we might kind of pick up on an electric vehicle charging, you might not see them in the space in a week, but in the space of 12 months, you'll really see how behaviors change over that period of time. In terms of the data we actually have, so we have everything from the amount of energy being consumed by the electric vehicle charge points themselves. We have telematics data from the EVs to understand where they're going, how far they're traveling, the type of efficiency of them. We also look at the kind of wider energy system, where they're being charged. So if this is in your home, it's not just the power being consumed by your electric vehicle charger, but also what else is being consumed in that building. From month-ahead flexibility all the way up to intraday. In each case, we've shown that it can be done. The certainty in delivering this flexibility is far higher when it's closer to the time you're actually going to enact it. So for example, a day ahead is a lot more accurate than a month ahead. If we look at drivers charging their EVs while on shift for Uber, we've been able to identify the hotspots where new chargers are needed to meet the expected demand. So we look at areas like Westminster, Hillingdon, Camden, Tower Hamlets. All these places that would be underserved if new charging infrastructure isn't put in place. What we do is we take these, we can go to the London councils and boroughs, and they can take this as an insight to inform their planning for providing public charging infrastructure. So when we talk about flexibility, I think the Royal Mail is a great example for what this actually looks like. So the Royal Mail have a fleet at the moment, nationally, of about 33,000 EVs. If this is fully electrified, it means they can effectively take 1,700 EVs offline when requested by the grid operator. And this is really important because you do this at times when the grid is constrained, there's a danger of possible outages, and taking 1,700 EVs offline at a single time really helps rectify this. How we're measuring the data, so we've got some measurement infrastructure on site, from charge points to building metering to telematics in the electric vehicles themselves. So I think Optimise Prime first and foremost affects fleet operators and distribution network operators, because they've been the kind of 2 primary stakeholders in all the analysis and trials we've done. But I think also it affects just about everybody. I think everyone can see the kind of strong national commitments that have been made towards electric vehicles and the kind of basically the electrification of transport.